The Spartans finished 5-7, and it was an embarrassing 5-7 because how they closed out the year. They can't have that happen again. And yet, I think that they made progress in a variety of ways from 2023 to 2024. I think that the in-game coaching was better. I believe that their defense was profoundly better, especially in the secondary, which at some point became a meme under Mel Tucker at Michigan State. Michigan State recruiting recently has earned some momentum, achieved momentum. Michigan State upgraded their athletic department by getting rid of Alan Haller and hiring Jay Batt. And they have talented players such as Nick Marsh, Aidan Chiles, Jalen Thompson, Jordan Hall. All these players I named are blue chip players who I think took steps forward, or at least had good moments under this current coaching staff led by head coach Jonathan Smith and offensive coordinator Brian Lindgren, defensive coordinator Joe Rossi. I think this is a wonderful staff. And the 5-7 record last year, 3-6, they improved by one game overall compared to 2023. They're tied for 12th in the Big Ten, had no postseason. And look, how they finished out against Illinois and Rutgers and in Indiana and Michigan, even Purdue, where they won, but they nearly choked it away. It wasn't good. But I think there are a lot of reasons to be optimistic about Michigan State. I really do. And let me tell you why. So Michigan State, the Spartans here, they bring back 66% of their production. That's 16th. Their preseason S&P Plus rating is a negative 0.2, which is 64th. You look at what they bring back at quarterback and wide receiver and tight end, and what they bring in on the interior of the offensive line. And I like this look for the offense. They're plus 1,800 to reach the playoffs, but I don't think Michigan State needs to reach the playoffs to have a successful year. Before we resume this segment, please take a few seconds of your time to make sure you have liked the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell for the channel and for any team podcasts and playlists linked in the description, and also comment your thoughts down below in the comment section and join my Discord server via the description. All of those things I just asked you to do are completely free, and they sign you up for things related to my channel, or they don't sign you up for anything. No cost to you, and all the benefit to you because we release daily college football content here on College Football with Sam. If you want to support the channel monetarily, sign up for a YouTube membership, or check any other links in the description for my merchandise store and Patreon page. Thank you very much, and let's get back to the segment. I just think they need to win 6 or 7 games, and I think then that they will be good. So, looking at this here, at Michigan State, I think that Aidan Chiles is going to be a good quarterback this year. I think that Marsh will be one of the more productive wide receivers in America. I have Aidan Chiles on my All-Big Ten team. I don't have a running back for Michigan State there, and I think that is an area potentially of concern. But the O-line makes the run game work, usually more than the running back makes the run game work. Again, with the exception of Kenneth Walker, or maybe last year Henderson and Quinshon Judkins, who were similar in talent to Walker. Matt Gulbin, I think, is going to be an awesome center for Michigan State. I have him on my All-Big Ten team. I like Connor Moore and Stanton Ramil on my All-Big Ten team at tackle. And Luka Vincic missed it at guard, but he was close. Just left off my All-Big Ten team. For context, it's larger than most All-Big Ten teams, but still, the players I mentioned on here are all good players. Nick Marsh I have in my All-Big Ten team. Same with Jack Velling. I have Grady Kelly and Jalen Thompson on the D-line representing MSU on my All-Big Ten teams. I have Darius Snow at linebacker and Nikai Martinez at safety. And I also have Ryan Eckley as the best overall punter in the Big Ten. And Michigan State, look, they brought in some key transfers like Amari Kelly, for example, at wide receiver, and Krishawn McCray. And I really love the depth they have there, along with having their alpha wide receiver one, Nick Marsh, who is a player that I am admittedly high on. And with this schedule, I could see Michigan State pulling off a record comeback similar to what Indiana did last year. Week 1, they open up against Western Michigan. Week 2, they play Boston College. Week 3, they play Youngstown State. Week 4, travel to USC. Week 5, they get a bye. 6, they travel to Nebraska. 7, they host UCLA. Week 8, they travel to Indiana. 9, they host rival Michigan. Week 10, they travel to Minnesota. Week 11, they have a bye. Week 12, they host Penn State. 13, they travel to Iowa. 14, they face off against Maryland in a neutral field game at Ford Field. They can go 9-3. They could even go, I think, if everything goes right for them, and let's say Michigan's down, Nebraska's similar to what they were last year, same with USC, and Indiana regresses. Basically, if everyone on their schedule is as expected or weaker than expected, and everything plays out for Michigan State, they could go 10-2. Now, that's not realistic, in my mind, but 9-3 is, 8-4 certainly is. They could also regress and go 4-8, but I think their realistic floor is 5-7 again, which would be very disappointing, potentially worthy of firing, potentially, depending on how it looks. And their Big Ten conference strength of schedule is tough. It's the 4th toughest Big Ten conference schedule, only looking at the conference games. So you have to play USC, Nebraska, Indiana, and Minnesota and Iowa on the road. Maryland's neutral field. It's not a home game. You only have 3 conference home games, UCLA, Michigan, and Penn State. I have no clue how that was allowed, but at least you have also 3 home non-conference games. But still, the schedule's not easy, and Michigan State really needs to start off strong and win all of their non-conference games, because not even 3 conference games, I think, are guaranteed here as wins, if I'm being really honest about it. I'm bullish on Michigan State, though. I view their staff similarly to how I view Indiana's. I just think their approach, unlike Indiana's, was conducive to a long-term rebuild, was indicative of more of a long-term rebuild. Indiana was able to bring over a lot of their players who weren't necessarily coveted by higher-level Power 4 teams because they were from the G5, and because Curt Cignetti was there for a while. And I think the way he left rubbed his players in a better way than the way Smith left, where it was very abrupt, and it wasn't communicated all that great. And then because he was at Oregon State, a Power 5 school at the time in the Pac-12, a lot of the players that he could have brought with him elected to go to other schools like USC or Miami, for example. Damian Martinez going from Oregon State to Miami. I'm still bullish on Michigan State, though. I love this staff. I'm a really big fan of it, especially Jonathan Smith and Brian Lindgren. I like their offensive line coach, their tight ends coach, their wide receivers coach, Courtney Hawkins, who they retained from Tucker's staff. I think was one of the only good staffers with Tucker. Wise decision to keep him. I have Michigan State going 8-4. 5-4 in the Big Ten. They'll be tied for 7th in my final Big Ten standings that I'm predicting. They'll go to a bowl game. Now, of course, these predictions, this is a bold one for MSU because they're going from 5-7, 3-6 to 8-4, 5-4, even though their schedule's still tough. These will be revised. Doesn't mean they'll be changed, but I'm going to look back over these schedule predictions and redo them in either late July for some of these teams or at least early August. I don't think I'm going to be redoing this, though. I'm convinced, even though Michigan State does not have the roster to go normally 8-4 with this schedule, I'm convinced they will, because this staff is better than every staff they will face except for Penn State, and they get that team at home off of a bye. Meanwhile, Penn State won't be off a bye, and Michigan State, if the Spartans are if by then they've won 6 games, that place will be packed, in my mind. So they return a lot. They have continuity. They retained most of their good players from going to the portal, though they did lose Brantley. But that was better than them losing both Simeon Barrow and Derek Harmon last year. I think if they retained both of them, Michigan State probably earns a 6th win last year, and we may even look at the program a little bit differently. But looking at the Spartans and what they provide in terms of staff, in terms of skill position players on offense, running back's a little bit weak, but I like tight end, I like wide receiver, love quarterback, especially in year 2 with a better offensive line to support him and a position of weakness at running back. And the defense for Michigan State last year, you look at them statistically, they were close to the top 5 in yards allowed per game, passing yards, rushing yards allowed. The offense was just so bad and turned it over so many times that the defense couldn't hold up for the entire game. And Joe Rossi is known for commanding defenses that don't get a lot of pressure, don't get a bunch of sacks, aren't finesse defenses, but they keep everything in front of them. They really frustrate you. They don't get a lot of TFLs or negative plays, but they don't let you get big plays or a lot of positive plays. They force you to work to get downfield. I love him as well in his second year with the defense. I think this team is going to not win the Big Ten. They're plus 11,000 in Big Ten odds, and their win total is 5.5 for a reason. But I do think they're going to explode this year. Looking at some more general predictions for Michigan State here, a Scoville scale of predictions. A mild prediction, medium prediction, hot prediction, scorching prediction, a hellfire prediction. Predictions all scaled in terms of boldness using a Scoville scale as kind of an analogy. My mild pick is that Michigan State is a much, much better quality team in 2025 compared to 2024. Much better because returning production says they probably will be, and it's year 2 of a staff that is viewed unanimously as at least average or above average, and consensus is viewed as good or great. My medium prediction is that Aidan Chiles will be a top 20 quarterback in America with a top 50 offense. Now, top 50 offense may not sound amazing, but Michigan State last year at the end was in truth terrible. They were not nearly as bad as they were the prior year, but they were still unimpressive. They finished with a scoring offense that only scored 19.3 points per game, 123rd. And I'm telling you, I'm expecting them to have a top 50 offense in terms of points per game and efficiency. So success rate, or ESPN's FPI offense, or their efficiency offense. They would go from scoring probably 19 points per game last year to the high 20s or low 30s, is kind of what I'm thinking. Or at least mid-20s, but that's still an additional touchdown per game. And that would certainly be enough to where if they win some close games, they could certainly get to 7 or maybe even 8. And I think their defense will be better too, although that's a topic that we'll talk about in a little bit here. But I love Aidan Chiles. I love his physical tools. He's mobile. He's made some NFL throws. He has good arm strength. He can have good accuracy. He just needs to work on the turnovers, and the turnovers were better as the year went on. I just think the O-line got worse, the roster got more banged up, the schedule got tougher, and that sucked a lot of life out of the team. A hot prediction is that at some point the Spartans are ranked inside the top 25. I think that they're going to go 3-0 in their non-conference schedule, obviously. They likely won't beat USC, but USC is not Ohio State, Oregon, or Penn State. They could win that game. If they don't, off the Week 5 bye, they could beat Nebraska, because I think their staff is better than Rule and his staff. And Nebraska's roster is top 25 in talent, just outside the top 20. So Nebraska's roster is closer to Michigan State in talent, in blue chip, in high school talent, than they are to even Michigan or Penn State, who are just top 15. Because once you get to the top 15, or even a little bit before that, every ranking you go, you begin to not exponentially improve, but improve more rapidly at a faster pace. Not quite exponential, but you get the point. And it's exponential when it comes to winning championships, for sure. I think whether it's they split the USC and Nebraska games, I definitely think they beat UCLA. I think there's a good chance entering Indiana, or if Indiana has a down year, or MSU's just that up and maybe they beat Indiana, entering week 8 or 9, I could see them being ranked fringe top 25. And I think they do split USC and Nebraska and then beat UCLA. So 5-1 entering that Indiana game with a win over a team that many would view as top 25. I think that'll get them ranked at like 25th, maybe 24th. But I could be wrong. My scorching prediction is that Michigan State will finish with a statistically top 25 defense due to many factors. These factors being all they bring back, the fact that Grady Kelly was a good player at Florida State in 2023 before the defense fell apart last year. Their secondary should be more secure and deeper than it was in 2024. You also got to think about their linebacker core. They returned Darius Snow. They returned Jordan Hall. They have others that they bring back there too. And Rossi is a good DC. So I think in year 2, statistically, they'll have a top 25 defense. I don't know if scoring-wise it'll be top 25. But in terms of total yards allowed, and whether it's rushing yards or passing yards or both, I think they'll be inside the top 25 there. My Hellfire prediction is they win 8 games, and if they don't win 8 games, they're going to win 9. So they'll be a Walmart version of what Indiana was last year in terms of where did this team come from? That kind of shock and awe factor. They'll win at least 3 more than they did last year, following or fulfilling a Mark Rogers prediction when he was on my channel. I don't think he told me this live while we were recording, but I think after the fact he told me, or maybe it was toward the end of the segment, I forget, but he said that every year, on average, over the past decade or so, 3 or 4 or 5 teams in the Power 4 conferences win or lose 3 or more games than they did last year. 3, 4, or 5 teams. I think Michigan State's going to be one of those 3, 4, or 5 teams that wins or loses 3 more games than they did the prior year. And for Michigan State, it's on the positive side. I think they'll win 3 more games than they did last year. They had some losses last year where if they were healthier, or they maybe held on to their 2D tackles, or they were in year 2 instead of year 1, that maybe they turned 2 of those losses into 2 wins. They beat Boston College, or they don't get blown out by Rutgers, or they beat Michigan, or they hold on to Illinois in the 4th quarter instead of letting Illinois get away, and they pull out a win there. Or maybe they don't beat Ohio State, but it was competitive for almost a half, so maybe they compete with Ohio State. The outlook at the program might be different if that were the case. So I'm bullish on Michigan State entering 2025. I think that Smith is going to have a really productive season, and I would expect Michigan State to have success in their bowl game. And if not that, I still think they're reaching 8 wins in the regular season. 8 wins in the regular season with an opportunity to win 9 in the bowl game. That would be huge. That would be absolutely massive, massive for Michigan State and Jonathan Smith and company. Thank you for watching College Football with Sam. Make sure that you've liked the video, subscribed to the channel, hit the notification bell for the channel and team playlists and podcasts in the description, join the free Discord server where we talk college football 24/7, and have commented your thoughts down below. Check out the description for any ways you can support the channel monetarily. Everything else I've asked you to do is completely free, and your support means the world to me. We're trying to become the next big thing on college football YouTube. 6-figure subscribers, maybe 1 million one day. I think we can do that. And also check out any videos or playlists, anything in these columns right here, where there will be videos and playlists. Yeah, you get the point. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next one.